watch the news or read the news, they have plenty of time to watch Here Comes Honey Boo Boo and Teen Mom and The Real Housewives of Orange County. I like some reality TV shows, so I don't want to throw them completely under the bus, but at the same time, our point was just, how do we get people to pay attention to our issues when there are so many confusing and distracting shows and ideas out there? And so we thought, well, why not have our own Real Policy Women of Oklahoma City? And so I do want to tell a little bit about each of these women. Major General Rita Aragon is the first female and the fourth Oklahoma Secretary of Military and Veterans Affairs. She's the liaison to the governor for all Oklahoma military and veterans issues. She participates and facilitates the 5 military installations in the state, and she is tasked to develop programs to support current military and veterans individually and in total. Monica Lamb, we're kind of out of order. Actually, I'll just read it in the order they're sitting here. Pam Peterson represents Oklahoma's 67th district and is the majority floor leader. She's served in the legislature since early 2004. Pam was born in New York City, is married to Paul D. Peterson, and they have 2 grown children. Monica Lamb is the wife of Oklahoma Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb. The Lambs have been married for 17 years and have 2 children, Griffin and Lauren, and are active members of Quail Springs Baptist Church. Marissa Treat is the legislative liaison and special assistant for the Oklahoma Secretary of Energy and is married to Oklahoma Senator Greg Treat. And I'm going to ask one question to kind of kick it off. Any one of you can take it, and then I'll wander to spare Karma from having to do it, or we can both do it. We can tag team, so you can ask them your questions as well. But we talked earlier about how there are incentives built in for young women maybe to have children out of wedlock so they can be eligible for more government subsidies or more government assistance. But we didn't talk about another flip side of it, which is that I can speak as a young woman myself that going through college, I often was given the impression from my professors and peers that it was somehow primitive, and in fact, a professor once used the word primitive to describe my desire to want to marry and to have children. So at the same time that we're incentivizing some women to have children out of wedlock, we're encouraging other young women to focus perhaps on a career or other things to the exclusion of marriage and family. All 4 of you are obviously very accomplished, and I think you would all be comfortable me describing you also as family people. So what is your advice to young women today who believe that marriage and family are important but are receiving conflicting messages?
Thanks. I'd love to answer that since I have 6 children and 12 grandchildren.
Rita, I'm not sure your mic is on. Can you
hear me now?
No. There's a little switch on the side.
Switch on the side. Yeah, it helps so much. If you have glasses. Oh, yeah, there we go. For those of you in the back, what I said was that's a great question. I'd love to answer. I have 6 children and 12 grandchildren. You can do anything you have to do or anything that you want to do badly enough. When I talk to young women in the military who come in and they say, you know, I want to have a career in the military, but I also want to have a family. And I say, okay, how much are you willing to work at it to do it? Because you really do have to become much more structured, and you find yourself dealing with not just your own needs, but the needs of your children and your spouse and your extended family. In today's military, we have a large number of women. About 22% of the force are female. Of that big number, which runs somewhere in about 800,000 or something like that, the vast majority of them are married. Now, I will tell you that those that reach the senior military ranks, most of them are not married. And I don't think it's hard for you to figure out why. They say that getting ahead in their career is more important to them than doing a moderate career and having a family. So what you have to ask yourself, or what you have to ask those young women, is what really is your priority? You can have it all. May not be able to have it all at the very top level, but where is your priority? And I think that's the same whatever career you go into. But in the military, it's very crucial because sometimes mama's gone for a long period of time. I don't think that's any different. I have people ask me all the time, well, how do you handle and I know this is, you guys can put your fingers in yours. How do you handle when you're over in the desert and you don't have bathrooms? I go, Well, you do like the pioneer women did who came across the prairie. They didn't have bathrooms. You find a way to make things work. We do that very well as women because we multitask. But I would say it depends on how much you want it. Do you want that to work? Do you want the career more than? But you can have both. I was lucky. I had a husband who was very good about staying home and taking care of kids and still staying with his business as well. So I guess that comes down to finding the right guy who'll help you do what you want to do.
I guess I'm next. Is this on? Okay. I couldn't get to the legislature for me personally when my children were small. I mean, that was just a decision. I was not going to go down that path. I think sometimes women are told, you can do it all, and yet we have all these stresses from family, and we're expected to be these super women. And I think sometimes we stress ourselves out because of this expectation that society's placed on us, that you're a woman and you need to do this, this, and this, and this, and look fabulous doing it all. And so for me, I always had an interest in politics. I grew up on the East Coast, very liberal, but I was in a very conservative family. And my first introduction to politics was when I was about 15 years old, and I lived in New York State. And after Robert Kennedy was assassinated, we had another election in 1970. And we had a conservative candidate in Jim Buckley, brother of Bill Buckley, a liberal Republican, Roger Goodell of the NFL's dad, and Richard Ottinger, I believe. I'm really stretching now, trying to remember these names. Well, what happened was I got on board as a teenager to work for Jim Buckley, the Conservative Party candidate, because we had a conservative party in New York State, and he won. And it was the most exciting campaign I was part of, and it was just in my blood after that. I thought, I am going to work for good people. I am going to, just as fun. I didn't see it as a career because I had a communications degree, and I worked in television after graduating from Oral Roberts University. That's what brought me to Oklahoma. But during those times of having small children, we did live in another part of the country, in very conservative Madison, Wisconsin. Not exactly, but I was a Republican, and there were issues that were going on in the state capitol in the town that I lived in, and I just wanted to get involved. And so as a citizen and as a young mom, I would go to the Capitol and testify at committees on issues that were of concern to me. From that, I was appointed to a family issues task force that Governor Thompson put together, and I was part of that as a stay-at-home mom, not getting paid. So what I'm saying is, I didn't know I was going to be doing this job. I really did not foresee this in my future in Oklahoma and being elected to office. But those years of working in campaigns and then volunteering, doing what I could do and in my interest level, really helped prepare me for what I'm doing today. So I want to encourage the women out there that say, oh, I can't do this, because we only have 15 women, I think, out of 101 in the Oklahoma House, and there's 4 women senators. And I think we have very few women because of the responsibilities that we do have in our home life and possibly in your job too. And for women to come to the Capitol, I mean, we live there from Monday through Thursday, or Sunday night through Thursday, and here I am Friday. Some weeks are different. So I live in Tulsa and come home on the weekends to Tulsa. That's a big sacrifice for women to make unless they live in the Oklahoma City area. And I think historically, we had more representatives and senators from Oklahoma City because those women, the women legislators, they could go home at night. So I applaud, Sky McNeil of Bristow. She has 3 precious children, and she goes home every night. And she's also very young, so she can do that. But, God bless her, she can do that. And some women can. But I think if you're sitting out there and you say, I really am interested in politics, get involved in any way that you can now. And maybe it's in your future if you feel you can't accomplish it at this time.
My name's Monica Lamb.
Is it on?
Up on the top. There's a
on the
black button on top. There you go. Push it toward you.
I'm real techie.
I'm right behind you.
I'm married to the Lieutenant Governor, Todd Lamb. We have a pretty simple story. Todd and I met and were engaged in 6 weeks, almost 18 years ago, and we were married in 6 months. And within that brief period of dating, somehow I slipped in. I don't know what's going to happen in our life, but when we have kids, I really desire to stay home. And he heard me, which is amazing. And I was working at inner city Tulsa Public Schools at the time. And when we got married, I moved over to Oklahoma City and worked inner city Oklahoma City. And so since he knew I wanted to stay home, he put us on that 10-year plan before we started our family. And oddly enough, we got on the 5-year plan, which was just amazing. And anyway, it just worked out great for us. He's taken a lot of different paths along the way. And we had a small child. He worked for the United States Secret Service and was on the road protecting Bill Clinton for a season and George W. Bush for a season, and really was missing out on a lot of being a dad and being around with our newborn. And so he came back home and just said, I'm missing too much, and decided to pursue law school. And he continued to work full-time, doing a different job. We had a small child, and I was at home, and basically, amongst all of the craziness, he decided to run for the state senate. And what else did he do? There was something else. Oh, I know. He said, let's have another baby. So, okay, we did that. And the year that he was doing all of this, he was studying for the bar. My sweet father got sick and died suddenly. So life was just crazy. And I was staying at home, but don't think I wasn't working. I was knocking doors and nursing. That's fun, ladies, let me tell you. That's a real good time. And that's not easy, but it was all in really the perfect plan for what he wanted to do. So now, fast forward, here we are. I'm just so enjoying being his wife. I'm enjoying getting to do things like this. I feel like I work at my kids' school for free. I'm there a lot, super involved in our church. And I just want to thank you for letting us be here, and thanks so much for the awesome other panels, because I really don't feel worthy to take up your time. Thank you. I'm Marissa.
Sorry. Okay, it's on. I just want to say, too, thank you for letting me participate. When Karma called me and asked, my grandmother passed away last week or the week before, and so it was kind of like, I don't have time to prepare for anything, and she goes, it's going to be okay, just talk about your experiences and being a senator's wife, which was really something I hadn't thought about much, because Greg and I kind of have a unique deal going where we met through politics. So when Greg got elected, I had a lot of wonderful people come and congratulate me because my husband was going to be in Washington, D.C. We were going to make all this money, all these perks, and I was going to say I'm with my kids. And I said, I'm sorry, but no, he got elected to the state senate, and we're poor, and I've got to go find like 6 jobs. So, and it was a battle for me, because at that point I had to decide, am I going to stay in this political world that I love and that I'm very passionate about? And, I think Kate said it earlier, you have to get people that are passionate and that have a level mind and, that believe in making a difference. They're the ones, all of us in the room have to be the ones to be involved in the process, or else the crazy people are going to take over, and it's going to be worse than it is now. And that's scary. That is really scary to me to think about, especially since we do have young kids, 5, 2, and 17 months. So, what I go to is there's lots of hats that we all wear, and I look for mentors. I have a lot of ladies in this room that I really look up to, and I've kind of watched them. Because you have to have mentors, you have to be a mentor, and you've got to figure out how to wear those hats and how did they wear those hats. And so my advice to younger women, especially in college, is you can do it all. It just doesn't all have to happen today. There's a season for everything, and whatever the Lord puts in your heart, whatever that passion is, whatever that thing is that you are so ready to go take on the world, do it. But just realize it doesn't all have to happen at one moment, and that God does have a plan. And 3 kids later, Greg's in the Senate, we're working a full-time job, and about to jump off the cliff because I'm so behind at work, and you sit back and somebody says enjoy the moment and you want to strangle them. But you breathe and remember this is okay. It's all going to work, and we don't have to have a perfect plan, and there is a season for everything. So
You notice that on this, they did put us in about 10-year increments. And I wish I had been as calm and as focused as Marissa when I was, 12. But the truth is, we are all a product of how we're raised, the community that we're in, the mentors that we have. Last night I spoke here and was talking about the mentors that I had were mostly men, because there weren't women doing what I did. And I said, I'm really lucky. They were very smart men. And that's a joke. They were very smart men who saw that I had some potential. But the real truth is that each of us had a different route getting where we're going. And they're young enough, their routes aren't really fully plowed in yet, but they're getting there because they're doing it not based necessarily on their desire alone. Monica has been an enormous piece of the success that her husband has enjoyed, but it doesn't mean Monica is a shy violet sitting in the background. She's out working, knocking doors, helping and going. Representative Peterson has won about a bazillion awards in the last 2 years because she is absolutely focused on the issues that she believes are very important, and they happen to be, for the most part, about the things that happen to women. So what I think that all of us would all concur in is that it does depend on the individual. It does depend on you, what your dream is, and how much of your life you commit to God, and how much of your life you commit to family, and how much of your life you commit to the nation. And where in that whole spectrum you fall, because all 4 of us are different, and yet we would all 4 tell you that we are very dependent on our faith. We love and adore our families, but we feel that we have a chance to make a difference somewhere else, and we have acted on that faith. And whether you are staying at home right now, or whether you are engaged, I was a school teacher, I worked at McDonald's, I was a church secretary, I did everything I could to hold my little family together. You have to do what you have to do, but I would say the first priority is to focus on what is it you want to do, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, because my life's not over. I'm still working. I don't get paid much, but I'm still working. So you're never too young, you're never too old to make a difference. What really makes the difference is how much can you commit at this point in time in your life, and how much are you willing to sacrifice to do it?
do we have any questions from the audience?
Oh, don't make them hard, okay? Don't.
Okay, I have one I have to start off because it happens at my house daily. What policy type topic was at your dinner table this week? Did you have any discussions, or was it more about how do we get where we're supposed to be?
I haven't been at my dinner table.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going home after this, so.
I don't think I've
eaten with Greg this week either, but you know, I don't want to get into the weeds on a specific issue, but recently Greg was appointed to be chairman of general government, and the wonderful powers that be put a bill that might have been slightly heated and not quite sure where the vote was going to go on it in his committee. And so our conversations were really not about the policy, but more of, I hope that your tires aren't slashed and somebody doesn't, come and beat us all up today. But I think for us, and again, our unique deal that we have going, because I am still very involved in the process. I'm at the Capitol and I work on energy issues. And before I didn't really care how the lights came on, but now I definitely appreciate it. And Greg, is somebody that really cares about policy and doing what's right. And sometimes people, might get frustrated because he wants to bring several people on opposite sides into a room and have a conversation about it. And so for us, I get people coming to me saying, do you know what he is doing today? And so, when our discussions come out, it's really more of, hey, I don't know what's going on, and it's not my place to get in the middle of it, but I'm praying for you and I support you, and I'm taking that role as a spouse to be there for him to lean on. And so when we talk about policy things at home, it's more the fundamental basic things that we're focused on teaching our little kids about life and those social issues that people are running away from, to make sure that they know where do mom and dad stand on these social issues, and giving our children the foundation that they need to have, so that when there are those battles that not everybody agrees on, they have the foundation and the strength and courage to be able to stand up for what they believe in.
You don't want to know what we talk about. I have a 12-year-old son and a 9-year-old daughter, and it is a laugh a minute, and I'm thankful for every meal that we have at the table.
I want to say something funny. During the elections, we didn't really talk about that much with our child. We have a 5-year-old, and I didn't really think about discussing any of that with him. Well, election day comes, and he explains to us that he voted for Barack Obama, and I about fell out of my chair. And Greg's telling everyone the story, and I said, please stop. Like, I am so embarrassed, that our son is telling everyone at school. And we said, well, Mason, why are you doing that? And they got to vote between their favorite ice cream and the president, which I'm not sure how those go together. But, and he explained to his teacher that his daddy works with the president, and so that's why he had to vote for him, which was very sweet. But it reminds you how kids see things, and I think sometimes how normal people that aren't in the political bubble, how they see things through their lens and how they relate to things. So I think it's important, as we are trying to give those little nuggets to people about important issues, that we do it on their level, and that we go to them and figure out what matters to them, whether they're the stay-at-home mom, they're the school teacher, the journalist, whatever that they're interested in, whatever they're passionate about, that we connect with them, and then we explain to them how government is involved in that, because they don't realize that government tries to put their fingers into everything. And then explaining to them, now this is how you can go to the Capitol and call your member, or you can stuff envelopes, or you can go be an advisor to the governor. We can do all those things as long as we connect with people on their level, and then they understand, they become more passionate, and that fire burns in them to come out.
And
don't tell anybody about Barack Obama.
No, we won't. We'll never tell Mark. Obviously, my husband passed away 3 years ago, and all my kids are grown and gone. But I do have roundtable discussions virtually every night, because I'm at dinners like I was last night and the night before, and I will be tonight. And so there is a lot of actually about policy discussion. Most of mine either goes around women's issues, which I'm pulled into a lot, I guess because I'm a girl. Otherwise, I can't imagine why. Or about the military and our wonderful people who have served the nation in uniform. Last night, one of the discussions at my table, even though it was certainly not a military discussion, but the individual who was there is a former state senator and said, I'll just be so glad. I'm so glad that the president is shutting down the military. And I looked at him and I said, what? Really? And I said, by the way, you do know that those are American citizens, American jobs. You understand that the people who are providing the defense equipment and underpinnings are American businesses, American, So what part of that do you see as being a really good thing? Not to mention the fact that, do you think the world is safer today than it was 8 years ago or 10 years ago? The world is not a safe place. Do you really want to cut back on the defense? And his response to me was, well, I have a grandson and I don't want him to go to war. And I said, okay, get past that and look at, I have a grandson and I want him to still live in this great nation that we all have a chance to make our own decisions. Because I have been in those countries where those terrorists are from, and women are not allowed to voice their opinion. They're not allowed to voice anything, even to their sons. Those darlings that they gave birth to take more priority philosophically, strategically, and morally than the woman who gave them life. So think about what you really want your grandson to do and to be. And by the way, statistically, your grandson would be safer in the United States military than they are out on the streets of major metropolitan cities where gang violence takes away 10 times the number of young people every year that are killed in the military. So think about it a little differently. So I guess that is a policy issue on what do you really want for the next generation and the following generation. I have 4 granddaughters and 5.5 grandsons. I've got another one on the way. I wish they'd really stop that. It kills me at Christmas. But with all of them, people used to ask me when my daughter was in the Air Force and my son was in the Army, well, what would you do if your daughter were captured? If she were assaulted and ravaged. And I say the same thing I would do if my son were captured and assaulted. I would grieve, and I would be filled with righteous indignation, and I would fly F-16 over, and I would bomb the hell out of them. Not every mother has that kind of access. I understand that. But it is true. We only have the life, the liberty, and the opportunity for tomorrow because of those men and women, young and old, who wear the uniform of this nation. And I'm real lucky I got to do that for 30 years, and I still today get to play with all those hairy-legged old boys. It's pretty cool.
Well, I guess we'll give you guys a chance maybe just to say one last word and then move into lunch because I think we're getting close to that time.
Okay, since we're the only things holding between you and lunch, I'll be very brief. But I just want to say that all of you women and men that are here are all leaders. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be coming to an event like this and spending your time to be here. So I just want to say, just because we may have a title or something in front of our name, you are all leaders, and you don't have to have a title. And so your sphere of influence, whatever that is, in your neighborhood, in your school, in your workplace, in your church, you can influence people that not one of us could reach. And I just want to encourage you, as we heard from these very smart and wise women this morning in Star and Kate, that you can be like an army of influencers in our state and in our communities to really make a difference and make these significant changes that we've been talking about this morning, because it's not going to be a top-down solution. It's going to be all of you, individuals and families and churches and synagogues and working together to improve our state and our nation. So thank you for being here.
Amen.
I just wanted to quickly say that just being married to a public servant, really Mondays through Saturdays, he is out there doing and going and overscheduled, and it's unbelievable. And I just wanted to say, I wanted to find the young lady about the Sunday morning church. I got on my phone after you spoke. I said, I know you've been to Northeast Oklahoma City and you've been at the pulpit. Where was it? I've got to let her know. We really, really try to keep Sundays as a day of worship and a day to be together. And there are, honestly, Sundays that do get scheduled out, but that is like the one day. And he just wanted me to let you know, if he's not asked, he can't come, but he does come. And he is wonderful, wonderful from the pulpit. And sometimes he goes and it's a Q&A. Sometimes churches allow it just for him to speak freely. And I particularly remember that he just recently went because we didn't go as a family. Sometimes we'll go with him, but our kids really love their Sunday school. So we try to stay at our home church on Sundays. But they had a fabulous worship at maybe Net Church. Okay, well, he calls me and he goes, you've missed it. You've totally missed it. It was the best worship. He goes, the guy on the front center row did a standing backflip. And I'm like, how do we miss these things? So he will go if you ask. I just know that Sundays, I hate that, but it is our family day. But if you say, Monica Lamb said you'd come to my church, you may get it on the calendar. So I just want to thank you again. It's been a wonderful morning.
Just wanted to, again, thank OCPA. You guys are doing a great job, and I think that this is a really exciting adventure that you're going on. I know this is the beginning of all of the programs and different things you're doing with women, and it's going to be really great because you're going to be able to not just be at the country club, you'll be able to go into the inner city areas and, you know, connect with people on their level. And whether it's, you know, in the inner city or it's at the country club, we all need to be able to come together, have these discussions, get, you know, fired up and go out there and make a difference. And so, you know, the one thing that, you know, I want to, you know, I guess leave those of you that have maybe younger kids that are in college, and by the way, I'm not 12. I am 30.
And gorgeous. And
but
gorgeous.
I can mistake it. Everyone thinks my husband is 60 and I'm 20, so it, you know, but he's not 60 either. So it's kind of an ongoing joke in our family. But you know, the bottom line is that we can all make a difference. And that we can't have this perfect plan and we can't get upset if that plan doesn't go just the way we thought it was going to go, that we need to be flexible. And I just appreciate being asked to be up here. I'm very honored, and looking forward to all the events that OCPA is going to be putting together in the future. So thanks.